I might not be a billionaire. You know, my family doesn't live in a mansion. Hell, we don't even own a yacht. All right? But here's what we do have. We have thousands of middle-class families who stood with us tonight, who are going to be joined by tens of thousands more over the fall, who want a senator who understands their struggles and who has spent the last 10 years fighting on behalf of them. And so, listen, guys, that is the contrast in this election. Over the past 10 years, I've spent every ounce of my being fighting for that out-of-work dad who has to get back to work for his family, for that hungry kid who just wants 3 square meals a day, for that homeless veteran who just wants a roof over his head. And during that same time, Linda McMahon has spent every ounce of her being fighting for profits at the expense of her workers and at the expense of Connecticut jobs. That's the contrast that we're going to make in this election. Let me break it down even more clearly for you. Over the past 10 years, I've spent my time running to people to help them. And Linda McMahon has spent the last 10 years running over people to help herself. While she was making sure that her workers were contractors who didn't get health care benefits, I was working in Hartford to pass the nation's first stem cell law, to put hundreds of people to work and to cure some of the most deadly diseases in this country. That's the contrast in this race. While Linda McMahon was shipping hundreds of jobs overseas just to make a couple more $1 million for herself, I founded the Buy America Caucus to make sure that in Washington, when your taxpayer dollars go to D.C., they stay here to create jobs in the United States of America. And while Linda McMahon spent the last 10 years making her billions off of selling sex and violence and drug abuse, well, I spent the last 10 years fighting for campaign finance reform and ethics reform, resulting today in the strongest ethics reform legislation that Congress has ever passed. That's the contrast in this election. We're going to bring that story and that contrast of how Linda McMahon and I have spent the last 10 years to every corner of this state. And here is my question for you. Are you guys ready to do it with me? I thought so. I thought so because I need you. And here's just an example of the story that we're going to tell in this election. Linda McMahon's got an economic plan on her website. And you don't have to do very complicated math to figure out that that tax plan would give her a $7 million tax cut. So here's what we're going to ask the people of this state. If we have $7 million, do you think it's better off in the pocket of Linda McMahon, or do you think it's better off here on the streets of New Haven in the pockets of good middle-class families? Early jobs, early childhood centers, job training centers. Of course it's better off here. Of course it's better off in the pockets of middle-class families. Thank you. Or how about this? Linda McMahon's going to say that we need to give another $40 billion to oil subsidies and gas subsidies to Texas tycoons who don't need them. We say, let's give those subsidies to solar companies and wind companies right here in New Haven. And so the stakes are high in this election. You know, whatever issue we're talking about, whether it be taxes or health care or energy, we're going to have a contrast that we can bring to every corner of this state. Tonight, though, I want to say thank you to so many people who made this unbelievable margin possible. I want to first say thank you to Team Murphy, the greatest staff that's been ever assembled for a primary in this state. I want to thank my colleagues in Congress who came out so early in support of my candidacy. I want to thank the governor and the lieutenant governor for their support. I want to thank Dick Blumenthal for his unbelievable support. I want to thank George Jepson for being there at the announcement party back in January.